everyone. Welcome back to another edition of our T&J Sports Podcast. Tstalls here with you. And today we have John.
What's up?
So Jordan is out right now. Got to catch up on some work duties and family duties. But glad to have John here with us, Captain Hook. So, John, we already know what this past weekend was, rivalry weekend. Of course, your Wildcats did it to us again for the fourth year in a row. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, lucky for COVID, but you got it 5 years in a row.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. That game, it kind of did play out how, I thought it would based on how Louisville performed this second half of the season, but I really thought we would be able to pull this one off. I'm pretty sure you did watch the whole entire game. I was at the game. Definitely, I like experiencing the game up close in person. But if I have to choose, I would rather only watch it in Louisville for obvious reasons. But just from watching at home, when you were watching it, what was your main takes from this game, and how it went?
It seemed like Kentucky was able to control the clock the entire game. The run game was really key in this, and like I said on Facebook, Chris Rodriguez runs through people like I run through a buffet. Like it's pretty bad. Every time he got the ball, he was running over at least 2 or 3 cards every single time.
Yeah.
I think the only time y'all got him for a loss was just missed assignments on the offensive line, and that's kind of been like how it's been all season. There's a couple missed blocks here and there, and big losses, but yeah, it was pretty solid.
I think the run game was the story for both teams, honestly.
Louisville looked pretty good.
Louisville did, yeah.
The ball.
We did really good, and every team goes through this, especially this time of the year. It's not an excuse anymore. Well, it never should be an excuse. Being without your first string, second string, it's kind of almost normal at this point because football is a hard sport. It is rough on the body, especially when you play at the high level, Power 5 level, going against top tier competition every week. We're out Tyon Evans, who is our go-to guy, and just like Rodriguez, and from what I've seen this year, I think he runs as hard as him. But I mean, obviously, Chris Rodriguez is going to be I'm pretty sure top 2, top 3 round running back drafted, and I think Tyon Evans had the opportunity to do so this year and prove that this year. He did it in a few games, but injuries was the big thing that held him back and held us back, honestly. Malik he was fighting his injuries during that game. He got injured 2 weeks ago against NC State or Clemson, and that really didn't help us that much. And having him out and then having Brock Duman, and we kind of had our hopes on like, all right, this guy can pass the ball, but as you seen early on in that game, we couldn't get it going offensively when it came to the passing game. We were trying to
make blitz packages really ruined it for him. Like anytime he started getting anything rolling, Kentucky would send some type of stunner or blitz at him, and it would just mess with his confidence.
Yeah, I think he was getting. I think it's the whole, like you said, the blitz package. Understanding how to pick that up. When he first started, I mean, he played against Virginia. RIP to the the players that were lost at Virginia, and how their season sadly ended. But when we play Virginia, they weren't good, and that was a perfect opportunity for him to step in and get some confidence, get some game time, and get some real game experience. And he showed what he could do in that game. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but it showed, all right, cool, we have a competent backup quarterback. But then in this game, I don't know if it was Scott or, whoever's calling offense, which we know it's Scott, just putting up these schemes, these long passes. And then it wasn't, sometimes he had a wide open Marshawn Ford going across the field and he just wasn't hitting it, or he had his check down and he just held onto the ball too long and then finally hit the check down and the check down gets blown up.
He was getting hit hard though. And when they did get to him, he was getting hit a ton.
And like you just said, that does mess with you. You get hit hard once, twice, and you're going to be shaky for the rest of the game, no matter how wide open that receiver may be. In the back of your mind, like, dang, if I really go into this, and as soon as I wind up and throw, I'm going to get hit. And it's going to hurt. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
Weaver
that
and Wright were
definitely.
having a field day with him. Like anytime they got off the edge, like there's a couple times where he got hit, and you're like, all right, come on, bud, get up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then when Malik got in, I mean, it was not better. I mean, he started the second half, and literally the first two plays was, I believe the first play was a sack for like a loss of 10, 15 yards. Second play was, I believe it was a strip fumble, or the second or third play was a strip fumble. And that's not how you start the second half after we played the first half so well defensively. We scored at the last little bit in the second quarter to make it 13-7. We had the momentum going into that second half, and I was right there, full on belief that, all right, we're going to go score on this first drive, whether it was a field goal or a touchdown. I thought we were going to score, and coming out there with Malik, I think it kind of threw the offense off a little bit, and it just, I don't know, the first two plays, we ran the ball so well in the first half, like we've been mentioning, we ran the ball so well, and your first two plays were passes, and Malik's not ready to be passing the ball. He hasn't been ready, it seems like, all year to pass the ball, and that's what you do, first two plays after running the ball so well. But
Yeah, your guy Jordan had more yards than Rodriguez. He had 145 on 22 carries, averaging 6 yards a carry. Like that's pretty good numbers. But like you said, they kind of went away from that late in the game, and that's when the margin started widening. That
yep,
Kentucky quit getting so many freaking penalties.
yeah.
They had
And
9 penalties in the first half, and I don't think they had any the whole second half.
yeah, I mean, I believe it. I mean, Jawar Jordan played an absolute great game in my opinion on, the opportunities he was given and how we needed him to perform. He performed very well. It's just, everybody else in offense just didn't. Quarterback play
Yep.
wasn't good. The receivers did their best. Tyler Hudson is a top tier receiver, and I'm glad we got him for this year. He's our seventh receiver to ever have 1,000 yards in a season. So if this doesn't tell you anything, I don't know what will. But Malik Cunningham had 1,500 yards passing on the whole year, and Tyler Hudson had 1,000 yards. So
Wow.
I know Brock Doman's in there a little bit, but Brock Doman only had, he had 800 yards passing, and I'm almost sure probably 600 yards of those passing yards went to Tyler Hudson, and then about 400, if not more, of Malik's went to Tyler Hudson as well. So Tyler Hudson is our offensive weapon if Tyon Evans is out, but when they're all three are in the game and healthy, and they're, you can say about anybody, but playing decent football, we're a good team, and our defense
Yep.
has been our best side of the ball. And yeah. But that's the rivalry weekend. As you know, Cards lost 26-13. Cats win their fourth in a row. And we're going to recap just the season as a whole. So, John, Jordan predicted Kentucky to go 11-1. I know it's high hopes, but I could see that because I predicted you all to go 10-2. Only two losses I've seen was Tennessee and Georgia, which those did happen, but more so did go on. So just tell me, what was your projection for your season? How do you think the season went as a whole? And just go and give me some details on your thought process from the first half to the
Yep.
second half of the season.
So I thought they started off really good, but given they only played like the first 4 games, they only played Florida. They looked pretty good up until the Ole Miss game. Ole Miss game, they probably should have won that one. They were legitimately one play away from winning that. They only lost by 3. South Carolina, Levis got hurt during the Ole Miss game, set up for South Carolina. That ended up being it looked like a bad loss initially, and then you've seen what happened the last 2 weeks with South Carolina. Ended up beating Tennessee and then Clemson. So
Yeah.
it's not that bad of a loss now.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot to mention this point. I had us going 9-3. It seems like every year with Stoops, we drop one stupid game. This year we dropped a couple of them. I had us losing to Tennessee, had us losing to Ole Miss, and I had us losing to Georgia. Ole Miss being the stupid loss, but I'm still disappointed. We should have definitely beat Vandy. Should have had South Carolina if Levis plays, but it is what it is. We had a good win against Mississippi State. Good win against you all.
Mm-hmm.
Florida was ranked when we played them. I mean, they kind of fell off the map too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, at its
it,
time,
it,
that was a good win. Yeah.
yeah, they had just beaten Utah, and Utah was ranked what, like top 5 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Utah was ranked top 5, if not top 5, top 10 for sure when, they took on Florida. So
yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed, but it is what it is. Like, we get a bowl win. That's
yeah,
8 wins on the season. That's not that bad.
that's huge. I mean, capping it off, ending the season by beating your rival is always, I
Yeah,
mean,
ranked rival at that too.
yeah, ranked rival at that. So, you definitely helped your cause at the end of the year by finishing off by beating Louisville. So going into that, I kept hearing, with, if you had a healthy Levis, if you had a healthy Levis, it would have been a lot better. So who would you say is your MVP for your offense and defense?
Um, I'm gonna go give it to Chris Rodriguez. He looked solid all season, given he missed the first few games. But as soon as they put him in, it was a game changer. The offense looked a lot better, and as soon as they brought him in, the offensive line looked a lot better too. Given with whenever Levis came back from that injury, he just didn't look like he trusted the old line. But I mean, uh, yeah, C-Rod's definitely the MVP. I don't know,
How much did he finish with?
904.
904. So he did that in 8 games.
Yeah,
Imagine if he had 4 more games, he probably would have had easily, over 1,200 yards.
yeah, he probably would have beat Snell's record for rushing yards, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you finish, I believe, that first half of the season for you all. Obviously, it didn't go to how I thought it was. It didn't go how you all thought it was going to go. Losing Ole Miss and South Carolina is a heartbreaker. Especially when that happened to Ole Miss. I was saying it to Jordan in that episode that week, like, hey, this is either a bounce back game, a get right game with South Carolina, or it can be something that just continues to unfold and unravel. And
Yep.
it kind of became an avalanche with South Carolina. I mean, y'all could have easily let it go on to Mississippi State, and that would have went to Tennessee, and it just would have looked horrible. I think a lot of people
Yep.
probably would have dialed out, and maybe even Levis would have dialed out after taking that many losses, and probably took a lot of hits. But y'all got right with Mississippi State in the first game of the second half of the season. You got right with them. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, Tennessee was a hard one. I mean, Tennessee
I
was a
think
hard one.
there was something up with that game. Like, it felt like they knew what we were going to run before we even ran it.
Yeah.
That was insane.
I think Tennessee probably I feel like Tennessee went in there just with a little bit more edge because, one, they're at home. They're ranked. Well, they're ranked number 1 at the time or number 2.
They were in the top 5. But they weren't. I don't think they were number 1 yet. They were
Okay.
only they were only number 1 for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Thank
They
God.
definitely had the momentum going into that game, and they just had that edge to them. Like you said, they knew what they were doing. I feel like they had that game circled because they knew this was going to be a key matchup and kind of help them determine whether it's going to be a great season or an season. Even though after that win against you all, it did become an season for Tennessee because, they lose their star quarterback, unfortunately, to ACL tear. And then, of course, they get demolished by Georgia, which score didn't say demolished, but if you watch the game, it was a demolish.
Oh yeah,
They
that was
got
a whooping from
demolished.
the beginning.
Yeah, and then they didn't take care of business the next week, and it just kind of one of those avalanche things. It just kept going and kept going, and now they're in championship week, which we'll get into later. But you gave me your offensive MVP, and Chris Rodriguez. Who would you say on your defense would be your your MVP of the defense?
This is probably going to come out of left field, but I'm going to give it to the DB Carrington Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
That dude, I feel like he faced number 1 wide receivers all year, and he was locked down for most of the season. If you get to watch the Vandy game, as soon as he got hurt, they went right at his backup, and that's what ended up losing us the game. Like, he was such a lockdown corner all season. If you watch them against Georgia, he did great against those guys. Georgia's always got 5-star guys all over the field.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many passing yards they had, but I'm going to guess it was under 200, I guess. I don't know, but
for Georgia. Yeah, I think
yeah,
they were running that ball really well that game, and
yeah,
I
they
mean
couldn't pass. They couldn't pass on the whole left side of the field though. He blocked the
exactly,
ball
and
good.
I think that was a high note for you guys, and that's something that kind of got to most Louisville fans, other than losing to you 3 years in a row. But the way you played Georgia just showed, like, okay, they still have fight in them. Like, oh, I know you
Yeah, no
lost,
moral victories.
yeah, no moral victories, but you play the number one team to the wire. And I mean, that's a victory, honestly, for Kentucky, especially playing against how they did against Tennessee. You thought maybe Georgia was going to break the scoreboard, and they didn't. Your defense stepped up. So I think that's what gave your offense momentum and, your whole team momentum going into the game against Louisville, which you all always seem to have the momentum no matter what, because these last 4 or 5 years, you all just had the edge against us. But, you know, I think y'all did really well. So, you got your offensive MVP, your way left off defensive MVP, but, got any honorable mentions? Some key players that really helped make this season go how it went.
Uh, I don't give a player. I'll give our defensive coordinator Brad White.
Mm-hmm.
That dude seems like every year he steps up. It doesn't matter who's in or who's leaving, who's staying. Our defense is always top of the SEC. Even as bad as we looked against Tennessee, I think we're still in like the top 3 defenses in the SEC.
Yeah, I think y'all were top for sure in the SEC. I think you're top 5, right? Like sacks
Statistically,
wise
yeah,
too.
yep.
Yeah, so it definitely was a defensive game. I feel like with Louisville, with some minor breakout plays in there, I think it was a great defensive game. And I think Kentucky played defense how they're supposed to against a team that's shown they can't really throw the ball. But I mean, y'all really showed no respect to our receivers getting open, and that's honestly how every team should have played us this year, because Tyler Hudson's a great receiver, but he's not a
Mm-hmm.
speedster. He's not like a break you down receiver. I'm gonna get open
Good
about
route
a
runner.
yard or two, and I'm gonna make a catch, but he's not gonna blow past anybody.
Yep.
So, you gave me your MVPs for Kentucky. So MVPs for Louisville, or just, the recap for Louisville myself. I predicted us to go 7-5, and rightfully so. Jordan predicted us to go 4-8. Alex, I was
That's brutal.
that was very, very bad, hurtful on his part. But all in all, the first half of the season was very it didn't go how we thought how it was going to go, especially for me. And honestly, I went and predicted us to go 6-0 in the first 6 games, because I think if we replayed all 6 of those games, we would win. Even Florida State, how good they are now, I still think we would beat them. But we lost to Syracuse at the time. We were like, what the heck, Syracuse, really? But then as you got into week 5 and 6, you're like, okay, Syracuse is actually good. And now you're at the end of the season, you see Syracuse isn't that great. They finished, 6-6, I believe, or
They
7.
started off like Kansas, super hot basketball program,
Yeah,
playing
and
really good
flamed out.
football.
Yeah, they flamed out. But our upset wins was over Wake Forest, as you know, when they were number 10. I still count NC State as an upset, because going into that game, I think NC State had something to prove, and our defense just had more to prove right there. And offensively, we got a lot of help from our defense in that game, and that's how we got 25, honestly.
Yep.
But then beating Pittsburgh, I think that was a big game as well as an upset to me. That was a huge win for our program. Just because at that time we needed that win, and we got it. Bad
Pittsburgh looked
losses.
solid, but no, Pittsburgh was one of those teams that looked solid beginning
Yeah,
of the season and then just fell off. Like they took Tennessee to overtime.
exactly. And I didn't put at the time. I thought Florida State would be a bad loss, but as you look at it, they beat LSU. And now look at where they're at now. They're probably going to be in the top. No, they're in the top 15, I believe, right now.
Yep. And then NC State's ranked again too. That was a pretty good win for y'all.
Yeah, they're ranked 25th after beating North Carolina last week. So I think Louisville, all in all, we did great. I think for what everybody was projecting us to do. I mean, we were projected to get 6 wins, 5, 6 wins this year in Vegas, and we got 7. my MVPs for this year was definitely, like I mentioned before, it's Tyler Hudson. Seventh receiver to have 1,000 yards, and just time after time, this guy made plays for us. And I wish we would have got him the ball more, whether it was just quick hitches and just letting him, get a couple extra yards after the catch, or, I just wish we did a little bit more scheming for him, and we didn't. And then, of course, for defense, first team, all conference, ACC, Yasir Abdullah played amazing this year for us. And I wish we had another year for the guy. I wish COVID would have gave him another year, but, he's done after this year, but he went out with a bang. One of the top sack leaders in the nation. My honorable mention for Louisville is definitely Gerard Jordan, who, as you mentioned, and as we mentioned, he went off against Kentucky. Yaya Diaby, he played, better than what we thought. Last year, he had a whole bunch of hype, and he didn't do anything for us. It felt like he was non-existent. And then this year, with him and Yasir, our defense became scary. And then you added Tyon Evans. If he stayed healthy, I think he would have been, like I mentioned before, he would have been a top 3, third round projected running back, whether it would have been this year or next year. And, hopefully he comes back and decides to stay. And then Momo Sanogo, great linebacker for us, transferred from Ole Miss and came in and immediately became, our captain. I don't know if he was a for sure captain officially on the team, but in my opinion, he was the leader of our defense right there with Yasir and Yaya. But Momo came in and did a great thing for us. Is there anybody on the Kentucky team that you thought or expected more from this year that you just didn't get anything from?
I think obvious answer is Will Levis.
Yeah.
You're a projected first round draft pick. Like, this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm wanting at least 250 yards passing a game. Like, there's a couple games where it didn't look like he was going to get it. Like, he wasn't even going to touch that. Like, there's a couple games here where he only had 98 yards versus Tennessee. He had 170 versus Missouri, only 109 versus Vanderbilt. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah. I mean,
109 versus the worst team in the SEC. Given that probably a mid-pack, that might be a mid-pack ACC team, but whatever.
Yeah. Do you think it was the hype of it, or just health and
I think his health, the schemes,
the
line not getting it together till after, I think, midway through the season,
and
then him just not trusting his O-line, like all those factors. But I don't know. Yeah. I feel like we could have had. I don't want to call him Tim Couch, but we could have had something similar to that if we ran just a better offense, because he has the arm, he has the talent. But
he has that potential, as we've been saying all year. He has that potential.
I mean, he's got it. Like, I don't know, like watching him in person, ball just flies out of his hand, different than what I've seen from other quarterbacks that we've had, like Stephen Johnson and Terry Wilson. Like, those two guys that came out of their hands like a duck. Dude throws darts. But I don't know. This year's just one big question mark, because I'll never understand how a team that looked like they could have been like playing in Atlanta this year to now we're going to be playing probably in the Music City Bowl. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to steal one out of your book. 2 things. I definitely want to give Brian Brown his props. At the beginning of the year and even last year, everybody was calling for him to get fired, and rightfully so. It looked like he should have been fired after last season, but Scott stuck with him, and even through the first 4 games this year, we're like, why is he still on our staff? And then Scott, I feel like he just gave him a little hand, like, hey, I'm gonna help you out here, and say I'm helping you out on defense, so they won't put too much pressure on you. But man, Brian Brown really changed that defense around and was making great schemes against the teams that we played in the second half of the season. So I give Brian Brown his props, and he's definitely my co-MVP for that defense. And then the other thing I'm going to take from you is, expectation-wise, who really underperformed was definitely Malik. As I sent to you before earlier this year in the summer, and I thought it was the craziest projection was, Will Levis being a top 10 draft pick. And for some weird reason, I forgot who the analyst was, said Malik was going to be the 26th player taken in the draft this year. I don't know what this guy was thinking. I mean, he's probably still
What
right, but
Desmond Howard was it?
no, no. He's bad at projections, but I don't think he could have even made that horrible choice. But
I don't know, man. He had Texas A&M in the playoff.
well, I mean, if the coach actually, they're young. I won't say too much about their coach yet, but we'll give them next year. If next year they play like this and they're not in, the playoffs, then yeah, it's all on coaching. By then, you have top recruiting classes 2 years in a row, and you play like this. So I'll give it to just young and unexperienced, and you're playing in the best conference.
I'll make a bet. I bet them and Kentucky have the same record next year.
Probably so. I'm not.
I
I'm not
both go
gonna
8-5
Fisher at all. I'm not going to help him out. I still don't like him from Florida State, but
I don't blame you.
But yeah, Malik definitely underperformed, man. And during the Kentucky game, he got that record by scoring his touchdown, and he broke Lamar's record for touchdowns scored and responsible for. And man, that has to be one of the most ugliest and just underwhelming 120 touchdowns scored for us, because it was during the 2018 year where we went 2-10, 2019, which was a good year, but it was still like 2020, it was COVID year, 2021, blah, and then 2022 is just like, dude, you've been injured. Like if he didn't have these 2 years on Lamar Jackson, obviously he would never touch this record. And if he actually did the job of recruiting a quarterback in here, he probably wouldn't even start at these games. But I'll be respectful to him because I know it's hard to play that position. I only played it in high school, but I know how hard it can be to play that position. But man, it just seemed he really underperformed.
He it looked like he made no progression whatsoever.
No, he stayed the same league as 2018, and I don't know if it's coaching or if it's just him not being a quarterback. If there's anybody who can say he's not a quarterback, he's a running back, it would be Malik Cunningham. He can make some he's like the quarterback in high school that became a running back in college, and he gets 1 or 2 passing plays a year that go for like a touchdown. He's one of those guys. He's not a start for a Power 5 ACC team that he has been for the last 10 years, it feels like. So thank you for everything you've done, Malik. I hope you do well in this bowl game, but I can't wait to see. I hope Scott goes into this portal and grabs some players, and he grabs, gets Pierce Clarkson in here, get him committed, and get him actually developing and learn the game of football and how to be a good quarterback. So I'm going to transition us into the next section of this, and that's our, bowl game, our bowl projections for Louisville, and, just the future beyond bowl season, such as players leaving, recruits, and John, from what we've seen so far, and, with this being conference championship weekend, what projections does Kentucky have going forward, and, what are they seeing so far by analysts? What bowls are they going to get?
Well, thanks to LSU dropping 1 to Texas A&M, instead of playing in the Gator Bowl and playing against Notre Dame, and getting some views from recruits, possibly probably going to be playing in the Music City Bowl or the Liberty Bowl. Not sure who the opponent will be, but kind of a letdown. Playing Notre Dame would have been awesome. I think that would have been a good game if Levis actually plays.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the Music City Bowl will be good for you all recruit wise, like you said. I mean, you've been bagging all Kentucky recruits for the last 5, maybe 6 years. JJ Weaver being probably one of the biggest steals because Louisville definitely should have got him. He even said he was thinking about going to Louisville, but nobody on our staff wanted to recruit him. Don't know why, but it's definitely huge for you all to play in the Music City Bowl. With it being in Nashville, your fans travel well. Even if it was going to be in California, I'm sure they would have traveled most likely if Kentucky basketball is not playing. But yeah,
Well, if they go to the Music City Bowl, they're going to be playing at the same time as the U of L basketball game, UK U of L basketball game. But given how Louisville looks this year, probably
yeah. They probably with it being at 1:00, and I'm sure what the bowl game's usually at 1:00 too. Dang,
yep, it'll start at the exact same time.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
There'll be
it'll
more
be
fans at the football game for sure.
Yeah, they'll go to the football game. There's no reason to even go. I mean, only reason why you would want to go to that game, the Louisville game, is just because you want to be able to glow and throw your L's down. Which I mean, I would do that if it was Kentucky too. So, but yeah, I think the Music City Bowl. I know it's not what Kentucky should have had after the first half of the season. Predictions wise, you would think Music City Bowl. That's not good. But
You
I
would
mean,
think the Citrus Bowl at least, right?
yeah, you would thought. But I think Music City Bowl is a big game for you all. You've played in it a couple times, haven't you?
And it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
it
it's
was
been in it.
it was the very first year that Stoops made a bowl game. They played Northwestern. That's the game Benny Snow got kicked out of on some BS with the ref.
Oh wow.
I don't know if you remember that game or not. A ref tried to help him up, and then Snow was like, "No," and then pushed the ref's hand away. Then he got thrown out of the game.
I think I remember that. Yeah, I think I remember that.
That was the only time I heard Louisville fans taking Kentucky's side because that was absolute trash.
Well, yeah, I mean the referees gotta understand. Yeah, we'll go on that, but I think that would be actually a good bowl game for you all. I don't know who the opponent would be. It's usually a Big Ten team, if I'm not mistaken, or an ACC team. So it's going to be one of those two. So we'll see here shortly who it will be, but I think that's a good bowl game for you all.
It's probably been Big Ten team because it was Tennessee versus Purdue last year.
There you go. Yeah, Big Ten team you'll probably get is Purdue. I can see Purdue being it. Well, they're in the championship.
Yeah, they'll play a higher bowl game. We'll probably get.
Yeah.
I don't know who we get. I know we can't get Iowa again though. So we played them last.
I think Illinois was a projection for us in one of our bowl games. I forgot which bowl game it was, but
Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Oh gosh, I just don't want to go to that game just because of the name of it. But I'm all, like I said before previously, I'm all for venues at this point. If I'm going to the bowl game, I want it to be a nice venue. So the two bowl games that we are predicted to be in is the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl game, which is in El Paso, Texas. Is it the best venue? No, but I mean it's warm at least. So, and I think it'll be good for recruiting wise because Ruben Owens is from Texas, so I'm pretty sure he'll be at that game, and I'm sure there'll be some of his friends that are also good players will be with him as well. Get some more recruits in there. Get our other recruits from California. Gets closer to them. Tell them to come on to the game. So I think it'll be good for recruiting for us as well. And then the second game, bowl game we're predicted to go to is the Pinstripe Bowl, which is in New York. And
that'd be a cool game.
I would not be going to that game. I know New York's probably the top-rated place to visit tourist-wise, but I'm good. I do not want to go anywhere colder than Chicago, so I will happily watch that game on TV.
You wouldn't want to watch your Cards play in the Yankee Stadium?
No, I'm good. I'm a Boston Sox fan, so.
That'd still be cool. I'd like to go to a football game in a baseball stadium.
It would be cool, I guess, if it was warmer conditions, but I don't know. I just feel like travel-wise, it's going to be horrible to travel there because everybody's traveling to New York for the ball drop, and it's going to be cold, and who knows who we're predicted to play Wisconsin, and Wisconsin just.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go see that. I know our defense is playing well, but our offense is just going to give away points, I'm sure. But I'll rather go to the El Paso, Texas Bowl, and I think that's the game we had Illinois predicted as our opponent. But I'll take the El Paso Bowl. Any bowl game is good because, it's more advertisement for us and more ways to sell ourselves to recruits. But so players leaving wise, I mean, as we all know, seniors are the ones most likely leaving, but with COVID, some of those seniors are actually getting to come back. But the ones for Louisville that I know for sure are leaving is Malik Cunningham. As I said, thank you for all your years of service, all 10 years of them. We appreciate you, but maybe you can come back as a grad assistant, but just don't go on the field at quarterback for us anymore. Momo, thank you for all that you've done. I wish we could have gave you more years. I wish COVID like I said earlier, I wish you would have had another year eligibility from COVID. And same for Yasir, Yaya Diaby's gone. Keitrell Clark's definitely gone. He's if he has another year of eligibility, I'm sure he's going to forego that to go to the draft. And then Travion Cooley, who's a sophomore, has 3 years of eligibility left, thanks to COVID. He's transferring out. I really don't know why he's transferring out, because he's going to be one of our top 2, top 3 running backs next year, even with Ruben Owens there. And he knows we're a run heavy offense, so I don't know why he's leaving, but he put his name in the portal to leave. So I don't know if you know anybody other than just the seniors and Will Levis, obviously leaving. But
yeah, we got a couple guys that threw their name in the transfer portal, but they're like fifth string wide receivers. Chauncey Magwood, I think he had only 7 catches, but he had 104 yards. And Chris Lewis, he had 2 catches for 22 yards. But I think the biggest pieces we're going to lose is on the defense, because I think they're all probably going to get drafted.
yeah,
Jordan Wright, DeAndre Square, and JJ Weaver. I think and Jacquez Jones. I think they're all gone. That's a big chunk of the defense. That's basically all 4 of our linebackers.
yeah. I mean, everybody unnamed defensively is our stars at their position. Momo, star linebacker. Yasir, star outside linebacker. Yaya, star DN. Keitrell Clark's our star corner. And I believe, Monty Montgomery. That's another senior we're losing. That's our linebacker. So, like, defensively next year, we're going to probably struggle. It's going to be a hard year unless we get transfers in. And that's going to lead me to this next thing with recruits. Recruit wise, we are having one of the top recruiting classes in Louisville history come in. I mean, it's highlighted by Ruben Owens, as I mentioned before, top running back in the class of 2023. Pierce Clarkson, a top 12, was in the Elite 11 QB little program that they have. DeAndre Moore Jr., top receiver. And then we also got another commit this week, and we're currently ranked 19th in the nation in recruits. And Scott's showing what he can do. Now it's time to see if he can get them in here and actually committed to us and stay committed to us and not leave because of money that they're smelling elsewhere. So we'll see. But recruit wise, does Kentucky have any big guys that you know of coming in that's, can help relieve some of that pressure or that gap that you're missing out on these players going to the draft?
Honestly, I haven't been following as closely as I should, but I have been following potential guys we can get from the transfer portal at quarterback, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
With getting rid of Scangarillo, it might hurt us a little bit because where he runs a pro style offense.
Mm-hmm.
But a few names I was seeing was DJ. I'm not going to try his last name. Ukulele, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
Him from Clemson, and then Hank Bachmeyer from Boise State. That's not necessarily who I want. I think he's kind of terrible, but it is what it is. Another guy, Cade McNamara, was another name that I saw. He put his name in the transfer portal. If we get him, I think we might have somebody else that with some word we've been throwing around a lot is potential. I think that dude can sling the ball. He is insane at throwing deep passes, and Kentucky is loaded at wide receiver right now with a lot of young wide receivers.
Yeah.
With Dane Key and Barry and Brown, who are both freshmen. So whoever we can get at quarterback, that's the only reason I've been paying attention to that. I don't really pay attention to recruiting until the season's fully over with, because everybody jumps around and decommits all the time. So I don't want to get my heart set on a certain player.
Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't been telling myself not to get too, set on what we're getting and hyping it up even more than what, everybody else is already hyping it up to be, with being a top recruiting class. But I'm really hoping and seeing if Scott can keep these guys to stay committed to us and come in. I mean, I know it's just a tattoo, but as they say, tattoos are forever. And feel like if Ruben Owens, the top running back, can get 502 tatted on his arm, he might as well just continue to come here. But as we know with the transfer portal, as we've been already discussing now, they can come in for 1 year and not like what they're seeing after a year and go ahead and leave. And it's like, oh, well. But, I mean, it kind of helps us vice versa. I mean, you leave, we find somebody else. They leave, we find somebody else. I think the transfer portal is a good thing. I mean, get the guys out who don't want to be here. If you want to abandon ship because you didn't play Your first year, your second year, your third year, cool, good riddance. I mean, that's
More
just
power to you.
yeah, that's the day and age we live in. They get stuff handed to them now, and now they're getting this scapegoat and getting the privilege of being able to play immediately, and they're getting paid immediately. So it's like I have a love-hate thing for this transfer portal and being and able to pay the athletes. I agree, athletes should get paid, but it's a whole nother story. I won't go into it too much more, but transfer portal wise, Louisville definitely needs to do one big thing. And I didn't
Y'all
know
need a
that.
quarterback. Y'all need a
Yeah.
quarterback back.
Oh yeah, quarterback. Quarterback is the biggest thing, but another big thing, as I mentioned before, Tyler Hutchins stud. I did not know this until like this week that he has another year of eligibility. So it's time to resell ourselves to Tyler Hudson because he has one more year. And I think that's something that you can show a veteran quarterback like a McNamara or even Sims I don't know about Sims because he has, a couple years left and we only need 1 year quarterback with Pierce coming in and we have to buy in that Pierce is our guy. So, we just got to find a 1 year guy that's looking to come in, get NIL money, as you know, we can give him, and we have receivers around him that will help. We have running backs that will help. We will have a young receiver that can help. Our defense has shown what they can do. Maybe they'll continue to grow with more transfers coming in, but we just need that star quarterback and we need to keep our star receiver. So, the future's bright for Louisville if they continue this trend of recruiting and just continue to sell ourselves. But I feel good. How do you feel about Kentucky?
I feel like they got a lot of young pieces. We can just get a quarterback and a couple of linebackers. We'll be set for next year. I feel like if they can get those pieces filled in, I think we can have an 8-5 season. Given they got Alabama coming in next year, so there's gonna be a couple tough games.
I'm excited for Louisville next year too. I don't want to write off this year just yet because we still got a big game to come up with a bowl. But next year, I will definitely be at probably 2 of the first 3 games. I mean, I believe we're playing in the NFL stadiums for like 4 times next year. If that's not a selling point to recruits coming in, if you're listening and you're a recruit, if that doesn't tell you to come play here because we're going to be playing in NFL stadiums and I'm sure there's going to be NFL scouts there, why not? And we have NIL money. So I think the future's bright for Louisville. Continue to do what we've been doing.
Just gonna plug for the recruits there. Come on now.
Hey man, got to.
If the recruits listening to this, go to the team that's winning. Don't go to the one that's losing.
Hey, we have the same record, so
I'm talking about the rivalry record now.
We'll come in and they can change that tone right there. They can change that going
Or
forward.
you can play in the SEC and play where the big boys are at.
Yeah. You can make money and show what you can do in the ACC as well. But we got a lot. We got to cover a lot this episode. Like I said, we didn't have Jordan with us, catching up on some stuff, but always glad to have John with us. You are actually a part of this now. It's not even a special guest anymore. It's John, Captain.
Appreciate it.
You're a regular now. It's TJ and J. But great episode. We were able to go over Louisville, give the full recap, Kentucky, give the full recap, and give our predictions for the future. So our next episode, we're going to go over the bowl games. Once all those bowl games are announced and official, who will be playing who, we're going to go ahead and just discuss them. We're going to predict who we think is going to win. We'd love to have some people chime in what they think of what we said in this episode. And if you want to join in and give your predictions on some games in the bowls, go ahead and reach on out to us. We'd love to have you. So thank you for listening in. Tstalls signing out.
See y'all.